you ever looked at a clock and wondered why noon doesn't always match when the sun is highest in the sky? For most people, it's one of those things you notice once and then forget. But there's a reason for it, and the story behind it is stranger than you might expect. For most of human history, every town kept its own time. The sun rose, peaked, and set, and wherever you stood, that was your clock. If your village ran a few minutes ahead of the next town over, nobody cared. People didn't move fast enough for it to matter. Time was local, almost personal. Then came the railways, and speed changed everything. Let's trace it back to the beginning, right here on Simply Understood. In the early 1800s, trains began moving people across distances that once took days. Suddenly, a problem that had always existed but never mattered became dangerous. Every station kept its own local time. Timetables became a source of confusion. Collisions happened because operators on the same track were working off different clocks. Britain responded first. In 1847, railway companies began standardizing to Greenwich Mean Time, the time kept at the Royal Observatory just outside London. By 1855, most of Britain had quietly adopted it. For the first time in history, the clock was no longer following the sun. Time had been untethered from the sky. Across the Atlantic, the problem was far larger. The United States had over 300 distinct local times in active use. A single cross-country rail journey could pass through dozens of different time systems. On November the 18th, 1883, American and Canadian railroad companies imposed a solution, dividing the continent into 4 standardized zones. That day became known as the Day of Two Noons. In some cities, clocks were set back mid-morning, meaning noon arrived twice. People watched clock towers reset in silence. Some were fascinated, others were furious. The resistance wasn't irrational. Local solar time is astronomically correct. When the sun is at its peak above you, that genuinely is noon for your location. Standardized time introduced a fiction, a shared agreement that overrides physical reality for the sake of coordination. Time zones are not discovered, they are negotiated. In 1884, an international conference in Washington divided the entire Earth into 24 zones, each 1 hour apart. Greenwich was chosen as the starting point, largely because Britain's naval influence had made its charts the global standard. Other nations had to agree to center the world's timekeeping on a hill in England. France didn't fully adopt the system until 1911, and even then called it Paris Mean Time, adjusted by 9 minutes and 21 seconds, preserving a small act of national dignity in the arithmetic. Today, time zones are not even purely geographic. China spans a distance that should require 5 separate zones, but uses only 1. India runs at UTC plus 5.5 hours, a deliberate half-hour offset chosen for a political balance. These are not astronomical decisions. They are choices made by governments. What began as a railway scheduling problem became one of the most invisible structures in modern life. Every flight, every meeting, every international transaction runs on a system invented to stop trains from colliding. And somewhere in that history is a quiet, strange truth. The time showing on your clock right now is not the time of the sun above you. It's a consensus, a negotiated agreement between people, governments, and railway companies going back nearly 2 centuries. Time feels natural, but the version we live by was designed, and someone, at some point, had to decide what it would be.